Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Catholicism 101, Forever Learning and Living the Faith. Today, I have Al and DeeAnna Wathen with me because we are talking about the sacrament of marriage. And today, this is more so just a conversation about how marriage is a path to holiness. So, in order to learn about that, we got to first meet Al and DeeAnna. So, yeah. Who are you?
Go ahead.
Well, I grew up in Fordsville, and I moved to Whitesville when I was in my high school years, and I met Al around that time. We actually met at youth group, so that might be a story in this podcast, maybe not. But God brought us together, and we've been married 27 years now, and we have 4 children that are now adults and starting their own families, and so it's been pretty great.
3 grandbabies.
3 grandbabies, yes.
Does that include the one on the way?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Every time I see her, I just get so excited. And I'm sure that doesn't compare to y'all's. So, I sent you all some questions and some things to reflect on as we prepared for today. And so I wanted to kind of give you a bit of free range of, as you all were talking and praying and getting ready for this, and you think about marriage as vocation and path to holiness, your path to heaven. What is maybe the first thing that stands out to you?
Well, for me, it's the relationship or how closely our marriage reflects the church and how selfless Jesus was in the beginning of it and what he sacrificed for us and for the church. Mm-hmm. And kind of what it reflects into my role as a partner with DeeAnna in our marriage and towards our children and for our grandchildren, what's our overall goal.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Very sacrificial. And that is the role that Jesus plays. So I think that's a great thing. You don't ever really think about yourself in marriage. Even when you do, it's always in the context of your husband or your family in general, the whole family unit. Every decision that you make, if you want to go somewhere or you want to buy something or you want to learn something new, it's always in the context of how it's going to affect each person in the unit. So you're not really like this sole island. You're always together, even in your thoughts. So that's kind of a big part of it.
Yeah. And then our actions as the parents, we always try to come out in that, unified voice and, always just was Christ-centered and knew that we were raising our children to be adults. We weren't raising children, we were raising adults, and we tried to give them that benefit of teaching them how to be adults. And then when you're doing that, you have to act. Because if you tell somebody and don't do it yourself, it's empty words. So if we wanted them to go to church every Saturday or Sunday, we had to make sure we went to church every Saturday or Sunday. If, we want them to have a stronger faith, we had to have strong faith. We wanted them to love people. We had to love each other. So it was always that bigger picture of you had to be what you wanted your children to become and to be.
I always tell people that's the hardest thing about being a parent, actually, is becoming what you want your kids to be. And so when you're young, you have all these ideas, but right and wrong. And so you're constantly trying to do what's right. And as they get older and older, you're their model and that's who they're watching. And when they're little, you can get away with a few things, still sneak some things in. And you're like, no, I really shouldn't be doing this, but they can't really see it. But children, I feel like really hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because that's a big responsibility. And so you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about them all the time. And yeah, you really have to model it.
Yeah. The slip up of a bad word, and the next thing you know, they say just like, yeah, I did that.
Yes.
That was my bad.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness. Yeah. That's incredible. And I'm so glad to hear y'all say that. There's 2 points. Like in my job, I have the privilege of meeting with new parents for baptism. And the godparents. And so I always, whenever I meet them, I always try to send them out with a challenge of like, hey, I know that they're like, 2 months old right now, and they don't know whether or not you're going to Mass. And quite frankly, they're not going to care right now. But here's the thing. Whenever they start like noticing this, and it's earlier than you would think it is, you want to have that habit built up. Yeah. It's like, hey, start right now. Here's a checkpoint of like, let's do a quick check in. Is this the kind of parent I want to be? Is this the kind of godparent I want to be?
Yeah.
Makes you think of children in Mass.
Yes. Yeah. Because, I mean, me hearing kids scream in Mass makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a pleasure just because, and I know the parents are like, oh, I'm going to beat my kids, or, it's so embarrassing, or they feel like their kids are taking stuff away from other people from Mass, but it's really not. I'm going to, from my point, and I'm going to say majority of parents, they smile and go, they're doing good. I remember when my kids were that way, and, just the youth, the joy of just the kids, it's great. It's infectious.
Yeah, and I would encourage parents to hang in there and keep coming. Don't feel like your kids are terrible and you need to stay home, or you need to leave your kids with somebody else while you go to Mass. When you do it every week, that's how they learn. And once you teach that older one, the older one helps the younger ones figure it out. And before you know it, they're all being pretty good at Mass. Yeah. But it is a process sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather a kid be happy to be there and having fun, even if they're playing with maybe a little truck in the future, than be scared to go to Mass,
Yeah. And I would encourage pointing things out in the church and talking about things in the Mass.
Yeah.
Sitting in the front. We used to sit in the very front pew most of the time because we were late. And that was the only pew that was open, but it was a benefit to be right in the front. You don't have all that distraction in front of you. You're just focused on the Mass. And so it's a good opportunity to point things out to kids. They can't see anything if they're in the back. They just see the people in front of them.
Yeah. Remember the kids' view.
Yeah. Yeah. What they're seeing.
What they're seeing is nothing. Or people's butts. So set them up front so they can see what's going on,
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So I kind of wanted to go back. You all have been married 27 years.
Yes.
I'm sure it's been all butterflies and rainbows, right?
Absolutely.
There, of course, it kind of goes without saying, there are really difficult times. And I wanted to ask you all, and this is kind of something I prepped for you a little bit too, of whenever those times come, and when life is a little bit too heavy to bear sometimes, and you just don't really, you feel like you don't have the strength, particularly like in a marriage, when things get really hard. That's one of the beautiful reasons that Jesus elevated marriage to a sacrament, right? Mm-hmm. So it can be an occasion of grace. And so I wanted to ask you all, in reflecting on some of those times where it's been rough and tough, how have you found yourselves like relying on the grace of your sacrament? And what kind of fruit did you take from that?
I would say for a long time, I felt like I was in the honeymoon stage. People talk about that, the honeymoon stage. And some people act like it doesn't last very long. For me, it lasted a long time with my relationship with Al, the way I loved him, I feel like. And we didn't really fight in the beginning. Well, we don't really fight. That doesn't mean it's always great. but we didn't really fight a lot. And as we started having kids, it was hard because we had 4 kids pretty quickly. And some of our biggest challenges were financial challenges, and then just the daily challenge of raising the family. And, it's so exhausting when they're small and they rely on you for everything. And so those were some of the big ones at first. I felt like our relationship was strong, but the day-to-day was really hard. To give a few examples, we did talk about a couple of things beforehand when we were trying to think about some hard times. And financially, we were in hard times a few times where it was like, what bills are we going to pay?
Which bill will shut us off? Which one won't?
Yeah, we can't afford all of them. We can afford most of them, but not one. So which one doesn't need to be this month that we don't pay? That's going to be next month we pay or something. So we would have those conversations sometimes, and the money was pretty tight. And I remember one time specifically we had, we were really in a pinch. We weren't going to be able to pay something we needed to pay. And I went to the mailbox and there was a check in the mail and it was $500. And we're like, what? What is this? And so we open it, I read the letter, and it was from an insurance claim where Al had been rear-ended like 4 years earlier. Yeah. And the person didn't have insurance. And so our insurance had to pay for it. And we had to pay the deductible, which was $500. Well, they finally got their money back and sent us a $500 check. Oh, wow. But it was completely out of the blue. Yeah. And it made us realize, yes, it was right at a time when we were really needing it. And it was like, God really is taking care of us, Like you try to be responsible. You try to do what you need to do. But then those little times, He just lets you know that I'm right here. I'm helping you out. You're not by yourself, And
we tried to always tithe. Mm-hmm. And most of the time it was out of the firsts. It wasn't out of the seconds. It was just like, let's write that check and then we'll write the rest. And I think that was some of that grace of the hardship up front and that blessing that the fruits that came from that, which I really, when we were struggling, like just talking to each other or with the kids, that grace comes back. It's like it just pops up when you need it. And then it becomes easier and easier. I mean, to be able to, when you see the fruits of that, it's easier to rely on that. And that's what God wants. I mean, He wants us to rely on Him, like a parent's love, it never runs out. He's just wanting you to, show Him a little love, and He'll cuddle you up and love you right back.
Yeah. We, and the hard part is that first step though, like with the giving. I can remember when we first decided, okay, we just need to do this. And it was really hard to write out that check in the beginning. Yeah. But really, it gets so much easier because you do put the trust in and He doesn't let you down, even when it's tight, He doesn't let you down.
And writing that check first, writing that check out of, that's like the first check you write. It's like, I know I got the water and the electric, but the first check is the tithe. And then you start going through the rest. And somehow there's enough zeros there. It's just like, okay, that worked out. But I mean, and that's one of our blessings is me and DeeAnna, I married my best friend. And what came with that is the ability to appreciate and talk to where, people, I ain't no way you never fought. Well, we really didn't, because anything that was emotional, we could sit down and have a conversation about it and talk about it. And, talk to your friend like you do friends, you talk, and even if sometimes it's a hard thing to say, it's easier to say to your friend, So it was easier for us to not fight. Doesn't mean we never got mad at each other. Doesn't mean I didn't do stuff stupid, which I know I did. But it, with that, knowing it's your friend at first and having that friendship and that relationship, and then it became something else, developed or became a love, It was being married to DeeAnna has been easy, which is a blessing.
Thanks. You're so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is so beautiful. I'm having the time of my life.
That's good.
Over here and watching y'all hold hands and just beam.
Well, just like that, we talk about, how, just holding hands and being close. We talk about having a full-size bed when you first get married.
Really?
We had a full-size bed for 20 years.
Yeah, we've only just recently switched,
to a queen.
Mm-hmm.
But
we have a whole philosophy behind that. This is one of our pointers. We were going to save this for the end of the conversation.
But it's a good place for it.
It's a good place, yeah. If you have a small bed, then you're close. You're close together. You have to touch each other. You can't just turn over and never touch the other person.
And you can't stay mad at somebody you touch. You can't stay mad.
That's right. If you're upset when you go to bed and you try to stay on your side, because you're just mad at the other person, you can't help it. Eventually you're going to touch each other, whether it's a foot or something. And then it just, I don't know, physical touch just kind of melts away some of that anger, even when you're not really wanting to. And I don't know. We just think it's a great practice. It's a great practice. And it keeps you closer. Full-size bed.
Full-size bed.
Yep.
That's awesome. One blanket, right over the blanket.
That's right. That's right.
One person rolls too far.
You have to scoot over there with them.
We were always lucky. DeeAnna was always cold and I was always hot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
She would snuggle up to me and I'd stick my leg out from underneath the blanket.
Not so much anymore though. So now I get hot. I have the hot flashes.
Oh my goodness. So I'm hearing bits of like there are challenges and like they always end up for the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you take away, like especially with tithing and finances, it's like you trust the Lord with what little you have. And I always have this philosophy of like, Lord, if I give you what I have, I know, and I like have this expectant prayer that you will give me at least double in return, whatever that looks like. And I've never had just a random check show up in the mail, or maybe I have once, maybe like $70, but that's pretty awesome. Yeah. I might start praying for that.
Well, that's the funny thing about God. We have our expectation and we pray for the things we want. They're not usually the things that he wants. Yeah. And so we have to just trust that he does know, because he's going to give us what we need.
Yeah. And the way he's going to answer your prayers, probably not the way you expect.
Yeah, it usually never is, but it's usually the better way. And you see that later. You just can't see it in the moment.
Oh, man. So through all of these things and going through these things together, because like, yes, you are one, right? As a people, you are one, you are a unit. But at the same time, you're still your own individual person. And so whenever you think about your vocation and you kind of think about like the state of your own soul and the state of your own holiness, like obviously, yes, it is linked. But how have you like personally, DeeAnna, how have you personally, Al, like seen and experienced growth in holiness just by your sacrament?
Well, one of the ways for me, when I was kind of trying to reflect on this a little bit, is it's really hard to think all the way back to the beginning of 27 years, because you have growth the whole 27 years. And one thing that I know now is that I really appreciate the differences in men and women. And when you first get married, you have your ideas of the roles that you think you're going to play. And you might even talk about them, in your marriage preparation. And, what am I going to do? I was mostly going to take care of the children. And that was my focus. And Al supported us. And that was really his focus. And we came together, we worked together. But then at different times in our marriage, things would change and we'd have a little bit of role reversal. And one example that I can give is, let's say I had a hard day at home. The kids were crazy, but somehow I held it together, took care of them all, kept them all fed, kept their diapers changed, all the things. And then I managed to make this big dinner that was going to be great for my husband. I was really killing it today. And then it's time for him to get home and he's late. So that would upset me because I sacrificed. I worked so hard and I was trying to do something really nice for him. And then he comes home late for whatever reason. He had to make a stop or do something. But it was like a disappointment to me because he didn't. So then I would get upset a little bit. By the time he got home, it's not the same, And then later in life, whenever things were different, say I was working, I went to work a little bit later when my kids got a little older. And then we might have a role reversal where Al made dinner. I worked all day at school or something. I come home and there's this dinner on the table. It's all sitting there. It's all out. Everybody's waiting on mom. And I just see this. I have this appreciation. It's not like I was trying to be late or I was doing anything I shouldn't have been doing. And it just kind of helps you see the other person's point of view and appreciate them and, being in those different roles. And so that's just one little example of kind of like a swapping of roles. Mm-hmm. And we've done that a lot in a lot of different situations over the years. And now just the differences in men and women, I really appreciate, and I notice them more and more and more. And I'm just like, he's just different in that way, and that's good. And I'm different because I'm a woman, and that's good. And, we really complement each other. And I just notice that a whole lot more now than I did then. It would be like, I wish he would be more like me, or why doesn't he just do this because I want him to, and now it's like, I don't know, you just grow into that more and more as you get older. I don't remember what your original question was, but
how have you seen yourself like grow in holiness?
Yes. So for me, that's where I was going with just the differences in men and women. To me, that is growing in holiness because we are made in the image of God, and it's like man and woman together fully represents His image. Oh, yes. And so my roles, who I am as a woman, and then recognizing who Al is as a man, we do complement each other very well and come together, and it represents God even more, the image of God. And so it's nice to see that more and more and more as I get more into our marriage.
And for me, just me being able to, really go to work, and at times, I've hated my job. When we first got married, I didn't work as a fireman, but I got to go to work and come home to DeeAnna and to the kids. And it was like, that was the fruits of my labor. It had nothing to do with what I did, but it had everything to do with what the grace, the gifts I was given, to get to go to work and get, be healthy enough to be able to do that stuff and know that I could take care of them, and knowing that DeeAnna was there and raising, it's like I never had to second guess that my kids were being taken care of or that she wasn't being taken care of. She's a great partner, and she's always been able to, she always amazes me on how she could, do that, take care of 4 kids less than 5 years. Is how, so we had 3 kids in diapers in one shot, or 2 kids in diapers for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I come home and there's supper on the table. I'm just like, wow, I expected peanut butter sandwiches tonight, and would have been happy. Well, not peanut. DeeAnna hates peanut butter, but just to be able to come home and witness that, and me getting to go to work, and her, it was a difficult time, for just us to go. Everybody talks about, we have to have 2 incomes, and you might. I don't know your path. But I can say from our point, her being home with our kids and seeing the people that they have become and are becoming, it was the right for us. It was a great blessing. And see, God's love is really, I can sit back now and look and go, wow, that's what it is. That was it. All those struggles and figuring out what bills. And about 4 years into our marriage, I changed careers and become a fireman. And that was a change. And, just the way life and God has opened up the doors and the paths. And, He blessed me with the ability to do something that I do love now. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. It was still a struggle. I got to do what I loved, but it didn't pay much. But, every time, realistically, the pay wasn't the goal. The family dynamics and, DeeAnna being able to do what she did with the little bit of money that we brought, that we earned. That's the amazing things and the amazing meals. And she's a great cook. And, it was a big blessing. And now looking back, or looking at our kids now and looking at our future and our grandbabies, and it's amazing to see that full circle of life and the blessing. When you're going through it, you're not thinking, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is a God bless. This is a blessing. I always knew God was always center, and I always, have faith. I had faith by, just knowing. I just knew God was going to take care of me. I knew He was there. But now to look back to see how much His hand was in that pot, how involved He was, that you never see. And that's the blessings that I get to see now from our marriage. And
yeah, just listening to you talk makes me think about my vocation as a mother. That was my career. And anything that I've ever done, just like I teach half-time at Trinity. That's always just been a ministry that I do. That's not who I am. It's not my career. I'm a mother, and that has been my career. That's my vocation. That's everything that all my life was tied up into nurturing these kids and trying to do the best for them. And every decision was trying to grow them into good people and, mentor them and model for them and teach them. And, like he was saying, now that they're adults, it's so rewarding to see the people that they are. And it's like, wow, I had a hand in that, I helped out with that. And I was so happy to be that instrument, really. And it's beautiful, to know that you were part of shaping and molding and they're beautiful people.
And see God's plan come to fruition.
Yeah.
That part of it.
Yes.
It's kind of like, okay, there it is. There's the fruits.
And now we're at that transition stage, our kids are adults. They're starting their own families. And like you said, it's kind of coming full circle. And so now we're entering into new roles. And we're still, that's our vocation, to kind of be the mother and father of the family, but the family is branching out and we're grandparents, and they're going to go through that whole cycle. And so we just have a different role now. Yeah. So it's exciting.
And we have new daughters and new sons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Bigger family. Yeah. As they get married, because you bring them right in under your wing, and you're like, okay, I haven't known this person from birth like I do my own children, but my kid loves them, and I'm going to love them to the best of my ability, just like they're my own, And so then you have to learn about them and who they are and what they need. That's what, as a mom, you're always trying to figure out, what are your kids' needs? How can I serve them best? And so it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same as they get married. You have new people coming in, and you're trying to figure out the needs.
And I think DeeAnna's a great teacher. And I think that's part of that, is because of the motherly. She loves those kids, and she always expects the best out of them. It's just that godly love. I
do see them all as gifts,
And you always think the best of them.
I always see the good in them. That's true.
We like to talk too about how parents have that great honor of being co-creators with God, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget about the education part, because it's we learn who we are by learning about Christ. John Paul II, one of his absolute favorite things that he wrote in Gaudium et Spes, all that, was Christ fully reveals man to himself. So I always talk about how I can only know who I am if I'm looking at Jesus. He teaches me about myself. And so just the fact of as a parent, you're not only co-creating, but you're also co-educating with God. And just what a great privilege that it is.
Yeah.
And just hearing you all talk about how you've seen God's plan unfold in your kids' lives.
Yeah.
And just the excitement of that's going to start happening with grandkids
Yeah.
more and more.
Yes.
And so I kind of want to widen that perspective a little bit too, to the community. How have you all? And don't feel like you're bragging on yourself here, because I kind of want you to. That's kind of what I'm really asking is, how have you all seen your marriage be a gift to not only like your immediate families, or even your extended families, which around here it's kind of everyone.
Yeah.
But how have you seen your marriage being a gift to the community? And like, yeah.
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. I will say, when I first started teaching at Trinity, I was, how do I say this? I guess if Al would come to see me and he would want to kiss me goodbye, I'd be like, not in front of the kids, like I was always like,
no PDA.
Yeah, no PDA. That's
Mr.
right.
Farmer.
That's what we learned in school. Public display of affection. You don't do that. But then as I taught for a little while, one of the other teachers one time told me that they thought it was so great that the students got to see our marriage as a model, a good model of marriage. And the more I thought about what she said, we had a conversation about it a little bit, but then I realized they do need to see good, holy examples of marriage. And it's okay to kiss your husband, And so I became a little bit more open to that. And it was more about the rules, at first, of like what they needed to see or follow. And then it was like, it's okay to see a married couple actually love each other and give signs of affection for one another. And so I was more open to that after that. But we have been able to talk about our marriage on retreats. We've shared with students before. Oftentimes, the students will make comments about how cute we are or something. And I'm like, that's their way of saying, you are a good role model, or you do show us something good about marriage. And the world is always trying to knock marriage down. And so I feel like just showing an example of, we do actually love each other. We're still in love with each other, just holding hands in the pew at church or something like that. It's like, it's okay to show that we love each other. We should love each other. And that's a good thing. That's what God wants. And so that's one example, just in the community with the students and just at Mass. You don't want to look at a married couple that just looks grumpy all the time, and they don't, they don't even look at each other nice. And it's like, I feel like we do love each other, and we show that just in our looks and our mannerisms whenever we're in the community too.
Shut open door for you. Show you respect.
He opens the door for me. Other people see that.
I've had several people stop and like roll down the window and like, you're going to get me in trouble if my wife sees that. And, I'm just like, well, open the door for her.
Yeah. Being that role model. Yeah. People need to see those things. And then they get reminded to do them too, And
it's easy to do the right thing when you see people doing the right things.
Yeah. It gives you the courage to do it.
Gives you the courage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's one example. We also mentor engaged couples. So we've been doing that for a little while. Yeah. I could tell before we had that program here with Father Brian, early on in our marriage, I think when Father Ken was here, I remember talking to him one time and just saying, I feel like Al and I have really something special in our marriage, and we just need to share that with somebody. Like, I don't know what we need to do, but we just need to share that. And then it was after he wasn't here anymore, but he was preparing a couple for marriage, and he just called us up one day and he was like, hey, I've got this couple. I'd like for y'all to meet with them. And they just came to see us one time. It was actually Mr. Hertz that teaches over here in Amanda. They came. That was the first couple we actually talked with about marriage, and that was years ago. But that was nice, and it started something in us to want to just give. We have something special. We know we do that we're blessed with. It's a gift, really, and God is always wanting us to use our gifts. And so you don't know how to do that a lot of times. How do you use your gifts, to glorify Him? And that was one little way, and it's just led to more things. And so we are involved in the mentoring couple, engaged couples now. And that's really good for us.
Yeah. And it's easy. I mean, for like out in the work world, there is negativity, oh, you don't want to get married, And for me, I don't let those comments slide to where I'm just like, no, getting married is everything. I mean, it's kind of a do or die team event, It's like being a firefighter. You don't go into a fire by yourself. Why in the heck would you go through this whole world by yourself? And, finding the right person and the partner and then working at it to be great at it requires communication and requires you to be on the same page and to be able to and then once you have that, like what I have and what me and DeeAnna have, we want other people to have it. So why wouldn't I talk about it? And it's very easy for me to, when someone has a negative comment about marriage, to go, mine's great, or if jealousy is, oh, my wife did this, and I'm just like, send her flowers then. Why would I do that? I said, why wouldn't you? Just call up the florist. It doesn't say, hey, send my wife some flowers. It's easy stuff to do and really to help blossom or help nurture our relationship. It's not hard. It just takes intent.
Well, you have to get over yourself. You have to think about the other person. And a lot of times people don't do things because of their own pride, I feel like. And so we do think about each other first. It becomes easy for us now, I feel like. Yeah.
Now.
And so it's easy to forget about that because we've been doing it for so long. But whenever you give the flower example, it makes me think.
Just send flowers.
Sometimes,
if you're mad at her, send her flowers.
Yeah.
It's easy, But it's fun to be able to do that now and know because I want everybody to have what I have in a partner with DeeAnna. And the way I did that, or the way I did that was if I was feeling jealous, it was always a me thing. It was always a selfish thing. And it was an insecurity on my side. I never have questioned if DeeAnna loves me. And that's there's so much security in that,
Mm-hmm.
that, even when, I'm mad at her, it wasn't nothing to do with does she even love me anymore? It's never been a thought in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore it makes it a lot easier to go, okay, what's wrong? What am I doing? What did I do? Why am I taking this way? Because if I'm upset about it, that probably means there's some truth to it. So it means I probably should self-reflect just a little bit on the intent, maybe not the words. Because words are very easy to take however you want to. Mm-hmm. But the intent is the intent, and DeeAnna has always wanted the best for me and to encourage me to be better and a better man of God, or just a better dad or a better person, even, sometimes like, oh, well, we can't have both, but you really can. So her intent was always to make me better. And I knew that. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I knew the question of love was never there. So therefore, it makes you reflect the side of where did it come from? Why is it coming? Why did she say it? Maybe it's because I probably need to quit doing something. Because it's all out of love.
Oh my goodness. Just hearing you talk about that, it is ringing true to me in a lot of different ways, but it's particularly when you think about like your relationship with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like God the Father needs to discipline us and it makes us angry. And again, it's like, maybe I need to do a little self-reflection.
Yeah.
Because I know he loves me and he's sending me flowers.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to send him flowers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then I did have two last things. The first one being, you've reflected a little bit on like your own personal holiness and relationship with God, but kind of coming back to the like you all as a unit. Al and DeeAnna Wathen, 27 years ago, walking back down the aisle, newly married. What was your faith as a unit then, and how has it grown to the faith of Al and DeeAnna together 27 years later?
I've had a big faith journey, I feel like. When I was young, like I said, we met at youth group. This is a good time to bring that in, isn't it? So I went to public schools, and I grew up in Fordsville, and it's kind of a rough area sometimes, And when I came to the youth group, I came with a friend because they were going to come. It was their first time, and I didn't know anybody here at Whitesville. And I found a good community of people. Like, I had a good faith experience with that, really. I met Al, of course. But at first, I was just open to the faith experience there. And I wouldn't say I didn't have any faith. I did have faith, but I had a lot of growing to do still. And I ended up going on a tech retreat. And I think it really changed the course of my life. I didn't realize it at the time. Wasn't like that day. It was like, I'm changed forever. But when I look back, it was that day, and then I changed forever. I just didn't really know that at the time. But I became very joy-filled and really open to God's presence. And I don't know, I was open. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And so I was coming back to this is where we saw each other. And so I was really growing in my faith at the time. And we talked about a lot of things. We went to some youth conferences. We talked about a lot of the material together. It gave us opportunity to talk through our faith. And he grew up in Catholic schools, and he took a lot of the things that he knew for granted. Yeah, I feel like. And I didn't know a lot of the things that he did, so I was like learning some things along the journey. But I don't know, when we got married, I feel like we talked a lot about faith.
We did a lot of road trips. We liked road trips. Gave us a lot of times to talk. And that was one of the amazing things that I took for granted, was going to Trinity and St. Mary's, of how much I did know about my faith. I mean, it was just, we had a Bible trivia game. We had a Bible trivia game.
I don't know when you're talking about, but go ahead.
And, they would ask a question, and for me, it was like common sense. It was just like, yeah, duh. It's, St. Joseph, or, that's St. So-and-so, or that's, the Old Testament or New Testament. And DeeAnna was just like, how do you know that? And I'm just like, because DeeAnna is very intelligent. She's a very smart person. So I'm just like, and I'm not. I mean, I'm more of a physical guy. I'll do stuff. I can build stuff. But, I'm just like, okay. So just that, I took that for granted of what I did know about my faith. And going through youth group and found, talking to her and just growing together in that. And then when we first got married, we got married by Father Cash. And one of the things, I wasn't afraid of getting married. I was afraid of the responsibility of being responsible for DeeAnna's spiritual and my kids, getting them to heaven. That's what I was scared about. I was raised in Whitesville, and my parents are, grandparents, been married. Just everybody, a divorce, not making it is not an option. And then Father Cash was coming late to our wedding. And the first thing he did was come to me, kicks all my groomsmen out, and was like, confession time. You're going into this sacrament, clean slate. You're going to have 0 ways to get an annulment, bud. I mean, he was just like, it's not happening, So it was one of those. And then, of course, just going into that marriage with that clean slate, and making that covenant with God and DeeAnna And then from that point, I mean, it kind of like started with that good foundation. Even though I didn't recognize it then, he really did kind of set the stone, that cornerstone, and it wasn't going anywhere. And then from there, I mean, the way we just relied on each other. And now 27 years later, I mean, the journey through our marriage and, the raising the kids focuses have changed. And then now our kids are older, and we had to really just relearn each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was a stage of life that we are empty nesters, and, it's just like crap, just cooking a meal in the same kitchen together.
It is really different, yeah. So, getting married then in the young years, you're really trying to form your children. I'm going back to the holiness, right? Mm-hmm. Like how God's been in our marriage, how we've changed. Mm-hmm. Then the focus becomes on raising them and trying to model for them. And so we always went to Mass. Yeah. There were times when one of us didn't want to go to Mass and the other one would always, we're going, Early on. We don't really do that now, but early on it was really easy to be like, do we really want to go to church today? Mm-hmm. And that's why you just have to rely on each other, and you have to be the one that picks the other one up sometimes when they're feeling weak. And that's part of the marriage. And sometimes somebody's weak for a long time,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you just have to be strong. And then sometimes it's your turn. So, it's usually never 50-50, but sometimes it is, I guess. And so a big part of our lives were just raising the kids and trying to teach them and model them. And now, he's right. It's totally different for us now. Now that they're getting out, we're like, what do we do now? And, that was my career, like I said before. So I'm retired, essentially. Not completely, because we still have kids. But it's very different. Like, they don't need me the way they did. And so my role has changed. And he's home a little bit more, too. He was working a lot when they were in high school. And the last couple of years, his schedule has been a little bit more free. And so we're together a lot now, more than we were. Mm-hmm. And he brought up the kitchen as a joke, but it's very true. We used to work in the kitchen well together. And then he cooked at the fire department a lot. I cooked at home a lot by myself because we were so busy with life. And now we're back in the kitchen together again, and we're getting in each other's way. And it's like, what are you doing that for? Are you really going to use this pan? Or, I thought I would. Just things like that.
Will you make this? Well, if I, don't make it that way. And it's just like, if you wanted to make it, you should make it.
You get the raw chicken out of the bag.
Yeah. So we're learning how to work together again, and we've gotten better already. That is good. But it's so interesting to grow, and I would say with our faith now, we aren't the best at praying together. Yeah. We've always gone to Mass together. But our actual prayer life together has not been real strong. We have a lot of discussions about God together. Faith is in our lives for sure. All of our decisions, moral decisions are always based on principles of, God's virtues and all of that. So it's very much a strong part of our life. But that's one of the things I was talking to him about this Lent. I said, let's make a prayer plan, a together prayer plan this Lent, and try to strengthen that. So there's always room for growth. And that's one of our things I think we're going to do this Lent is try to make the habit of we do pray together, but not as much as I would like. I feel like we're lacking, and we could use some growth there. So
our relationship with God can be better. And now that's one of our focuses.
Yeah.
To do that, to be that.
Yeah. So much was focused on the kids.
Yeah.
And the whole family unit, which is still a thing, and it's good. But now it's us again. Yeah. So it does change.
It was
things.
Get them to church and get them. Make sure that the homework was done and run to all right, at 3:00 when you get home, I need you to go pick up Nina at this volleyball, at this practice, and Brendan has to be dropped off for his practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here. Devin's going to be at your mom's. Pick him up on your way back through on this one.
And I know a lot of parents can relate to all of that because
absolutely.
a lot of people are doing that in this community.
Yes.
And I do recall a time when, like, I would be listening to a sermon and the priest would say, just think of that one thing that's keeping you from God, that one thing. And I would always be like, my schedule, like that's the most pressing thing right now. And sometimes we just busy ourselves way too much.
Yeah.
And we let that, like, I felt like it was controlling me. My schedule was controlling me for a little while, a couple of years of my life, actually.
But it was also focusing for the kids. So it was almost like that selfless
and that's
time.
what's hard because all the things are good.
Yeah.
But even good things can be bad. When you have too many of them that you're doing, that you're not doing some of the things that should be priority. And so it's a good time to reflect when your schedule is what's controlling you. Because I know many people probably, they feel that way. Like, think through those things. Are those the priorities? And
when it's great.
Can I change something little just to kind of get it back focused? And
in our community, like Nina playing softball, Tina and Joey were always willing to shake and ride with us.
Yeah, that is the great thing about our community. We do help each other out.
It takes a village. You hear Father say it a lot. It takes a village, and it really does. And that was one of the greatest things about Trinity and St. Mary's is we know our community. You knew the people. And if Joey and Tina, hey, we got Nina tonight, it wasn't even a question. It was, just taken care of, and, it was not just them, but again, they were a lot of times the coaches for Nina's softball, they but and they had, Abby was the same age and
as Alana and Brittany
is the same age as Nina, and so it was just
and a lot of the families are like
all
that.
the families are like that.
You get close to them and you get to know them, sitting on the bleachers,
and you can trust. You know what I mean? It's that big family unit, and it's a village, and
they're growing up with the same values, trying to teach their kids the same values. Yes, it is. We are fortunate to live here.
Blessed.
Very much. Yeah, this is so good. This is so beautiful. I'm like sitting back here beaming and watching y'all beam. This is so beautiful. I will say I wanted to circle back to y'all's plan for Lent.
Okay.
Because that is so beautiful and comforting to hear that you recognize that, hey, this is somewhere where we need to grow, and here's the steps we're going to take to try. And that's one thing that's one thing we don't talk about, how hard it is. Because we can be so comfortable in our own prayer space. It's like, okay, this is me and God in my room. This is my closed door. This is me and God. And all of a sudden, when someone else is in that room,
it's different.
How close you are, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you here?
It's like, this is like, God, this is weird that he's in here.
Well, and sometimes even when you want to pray, it's almost like you're talking to each other instead of God. Sometimes even there is an uncomfortableness about it.
Yeah,
there really is. Yeah.
One of our big blessings is, you've done perpetual adoration since the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's an hour, but just over. She gets to go, on a set time, and a lot of times when I get to go with her or choose to go, sometimes more than just get. But it is such a relaxing, and what our families got from that. I don't know all the blessings that our families got from that. Yeah. And it's a big deal. But trying to strengthen our, our next relationship or strengthen our faith life for us is now.
Yeah, I do read
focus.
A lot of books in that time, and then a little bit at home too. And I go through cycles, where I do spiritual reading and then I don't for a while. But we've always been able to share things, and that's good. Like, our conversation helps our faith grow, I feel like. If I have some kind of experience, God has revealed himself to me in different ways, and then I come and I tell my family about it, and sometimes they just sit and listen. I don't know what they're thinking about me, but I'm going to tell them anyway, because this is what God did for me today. And so we've always been able to have conversations about faith.
Yeah. And I mean, you've always been real open to that. I've always had a little harder time with my prayer life or faith, but it's never been a question of faith.
Yeah.
It's just I've always had a struggle with that personal connection. And I don't know if it's just because I'm worldly more, than, it's just like my job was to take care of my family, and my family's getting taken care of by this. And I was never afraid to pray. I'm not afraid to talk about faith. And I know that God's always taking care of me. But, one of my weaknesses is, that one-on-one sitting down, the quiet time, with God and having that personal or that intimate relationship with. But DeeAnna's she has a great one. It's kind of, if I get to be jealous over anything, it's kind of like, huh. On the other side is I would have to put in the work, which she does, and that's been a great blessing for us, for me, to see that. And it's kind of like, if I want that, I know what I have to do. But
well, I think that's easier for women, honestly.
Oh, very much so.
Think so?
Yes.
Oh,
Because women are more in tune with our feelings and emotions, and we're relational. And so we are open to others. It's easier to be open to God when you're open to other people. And I think for men, that just comes harder. I don't know. I'm not a man, but in my thinking about the differences in men and women as I get older and older, I feel like that's one of those things. Because you always talk about you feel really close to God whenever you're in the woods and you're hunting, and you get there before sun up, and then the world comes to life at daybreak, and like you just feel like you're so close to God.
Yeah. And I've always, his presence and stuff, or doing stuff for somebody. That's where I find my great joy is just doing something for someone, doing the work. And having, knowing the best.
You have a servant heart. I mean, that's why you love being a fireman and a paramedic, because you love to help others.
Do stupid stuff.
I've noticed too, just, and it is so beautiful to hear this, that like, not only are you complementary in like personalities and strengths and weaknesses, but like your spirituality is complementary too.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's like it's a very like at the core of that, it's very like common feminine to be very relational, right? To have that very intimate and always talking to God, because it's like my mind is always running. It's spaghetti out there.
Yeah.
If you throw in a meatball, it'd be God, why is there a meatball?
Yeah.
Whereas with men, it's very much like action oriented.
Yeah.
And that servant heart. And, I love hearing the guys around here too talk about being in a deer stand. And they're like, that's where I find God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's just, there's a complementarity in our spirituality too.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. And nature, I mean, God is in nature. And a few years back, I don't know how long time flies, but it's been a while, I guess. And somebody was talking about the sunsets and how God is making that for you. And, he's basically it's like writing a love letter, except he's painting a sunset for you. And that kind of resonated with me. And so since then, oftentimes when I see a beautiful sunset, I just say something out loud. Thank you, God, for this. For this moment, you made this just for me. When I was going to look at the sky at this time and see that beauty, that was for me. And so when you just say things out loud, sometimes it just helps it resonate and it reminds you of it. And then it becomes habit forming too, and you recognize it more. So I try to be vocal about my thoughts. And a lot of my prayer life is in song, too. I just start randomly singing something, or I think something, and then it's the lyrics to some song, and then I'm singing. And I feel like that's just connecting with God when I do that. So we both do have a good spiritual life, and it's very different, I feel like. And you are right, it is complementary. But I feel like we need to bring it together a little bit more. Yeah. So that is a growth area for us, I think.
And I mean, like in the deer stand's great, but like if I'm doing hard labor or I'm sore or I hurt, I find appreciation in that, in the suffering. It's just like, I can, if I'm fasting or, it's just like, oh, I'm so hungry. But it's just like, for me, it's a spiritual tie that I can, it's like, thank you, God, for letting me be able to do this, to work hard, that you gave me this, whatever this burden is, even though there's joy in it. There's joy in that burden.
Mm-hmm.
So my final question for you all, what advice would you give people who are, dating or looking to date, people who are discerning getting engaged, people who are engaged getting ready to be married? Mm-hmm. What would be some of just like your key advice or words of wisdom?
One of the first things I would like to say is we spend so much time focusing on the wedding as a woman. We think about the wedding day and trying to prepare for the wedding day. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with making a special wedding day because a marriage is beautiful. It's a celebration. It's the day you start your life together. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. But sometimes we focus on that so much that we forget about everything else. And also as women, I can't speak from a man's point of view, but as women, we have this ideal, well, it's almost perfection in our head of what it's going to be like because we like romance movies and novels and, we see whatever this fictional stuff on TV that we turn into our story in our head. And so marriage really is beautiful, but it's messy. And so I think going into it, it is worth it. It is a gift. Don't be afraid of it. But also don't be fooled that it's just some picture perfect idea that you have in your head. So I think when you go into it, you have to be open to sacrifice and working with the person and just know that it's not perfect, but you're constantly just open to working together and you kind of navigate it together. So that would be kind of my advice on when you're thinking about it. It's hard to be realistic about it when you don't know. You just don't know because you haven't lived that experience yet. But it's not what's on the movies. And that's what we see, a lot of times. So that's not real. That doesn't mean it's not good. It is. It's beautiful. And we have had a great marriage, but it hasn't been a movie.
No.
So that's one of the things is to just kind of be more realistic about your thoughts and go in with the attitude of sacrifice. Meaning, I don't know, that can be taken a lot of ways, I guess. Meaning not putting yourself first. That's what I mean by sacrifice. Be willing to do for the other person. They should be doing that for you as well. So don't feel like you're getting cheated if you're just laying it all on the line for them. That's what you should do for each other.
Men, be man enough to be vulnerable for the love. I mean, it's a friendship. And if you can't have a true conversation with them, you need to grow. Quit being basically holding back from your partner. If you don't hold back from her, everything else will be easy. And as men, we tend to want to man up. But part of that being man up is talking to your partner, because you've made a covenant. It's not a promise, it's a covenant with God and your wife. And the only way you're going to succeed is for you both to succeed and you to help let her lead when you're feeling weak. But remember your role and take care of her.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a quote from G.K. Chesterton that is coming to mind. I think it's just a really beautiful summary of this. And he says, the most extraordinary thing in the universe is an ordinary man, an ordinary woman, and their ordinary children. It's like, that's the most extraordinary movie is the most ordinary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you for your vocation and your commitment to love for one another that just absolutely spills out of you. This has been a great privilege.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
And I hope that somebody gets something out of it that will help them in their marriage.
One person hears one thing.
That's
It makes a
right.
difference.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully God can use us.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. And he is. He definitely is. But yeah. Well,
All right. Thank
until
you.
next time. I
Yes.
hope everyone has a blessed day.